Welcome back to Super Mario Odyssey. Now, in the interest of keeping things kind of coherent, I do try to do, except for the first two, the cap in this kingdom, I do everything you can possibly do in the kingdom on your first visit. Just so people aren't trying to figure out, oh, when does he get to this part in certain other kingdoms as a side thing.
Well, one
Yeah.
reason why, personally, I think it's a good idea, if you were to play this game, like now, one reason why I think it's a good idea to just find what you want to find and move on is because there's a lot of, like, half of the kingdom's moons are post-game anyway. So, there's no
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
in clearing out an area when you need to come back anyhow. So,
Well, one, I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
Two, also, while I was playing this as my first time and seeing what I could, what do I know what the developers are doing, I also did have to come across this a little bit as, okay, how is this going to flow in the playthrough?
Yeah. That's the unfortunate thing about doing blind playthroughs. Blind playthroughs without natural reactions via webcam or headset.
Oh,
to
well,
go
no,
along with
even
them.
doing it through live reactions, because I recorded a live playthrough of me playing Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, and I look like the biggest dipshit playing that game, because it's like, oh, I got the falling armor, I fall slower now.
It's your first playthrough.
Yeah,
I mean,
but, it's just like,
I
once
mean,
you've played the
like,
game, you're like, oh my god, it's not that hard, but, yeah.
I mean, the problem specifically in the context of making it a video production, you can't spend time on figuring things out while the recording is going. You can't stop and say, okay, I'm going to sit here for 5 minutes and see how my fucking jumps work. Well, you can maybe between parts, but if you have the thought that okay, you're stuck on something, you're kind of just gonna waffle around while the recording is going, and you're gonna try and figure it out as quickly as possible, which is not the most natural way to play.
I really
things.
want to see a blind playthrough of Braid when they're going after all of those hidden stars, and they're actually
You mean
waiting
they're
for
ne-
2 hours for
I
that.
was going to say they're never going to figure out the cloud one. It's just not
It's
going to
literally
happen.
just like 10 parts of them standing still, waiting for the cloud to.
Now, if I
Silence
remember
Braid.
correctly, the goal here is to actually kill all of the little things, but you don't know
Well,
that,
that's
right?
that's one of them. No, I
Yeah,
don't
you
know
have
that I
to kill
come
all
back
the
for
little
this.
things and break all of the blocks, I think, is the other one. So that's actually one thing I do like about this game is if you go back to like one of these little mini areas, which is usually a platform challenge, Cappy will either say, I think there's something to find here, or he'll say, I think we found everything in here. And I really like that because it means that you're not wandering around in areas looking for something that you're not going to find, which is very easy to do in a game like this. Like, it is very
Yeah.
easy to really, really thoroughly search an area that you've already cleared out, but you don't know that you've cleared it out yet. So,
Flawless this game is not, but it's designed in an intelligent way so that the developers must have been aware when making this game that with the large number of collectibles like Donkey Kong 64 tier and beyond, there was a high risk of making things tedious, and they did take a lot of measures to keep that from happening. The biggest danger is playing it like a marathon completionist, which
Hi, Gerard.
I kind of can't fault people who have a problem with the game on that score, because there are a lot of people who are most comfortable playing that way. I'm one of them. I play as much of a game as I'm comfortable playing, and then I drop it for like 3 goddamn years.
well,
And
that's
then when I come back to it 3 years later, I don't remember where I was. I kind of just want to start over,
that's
It's
that
main RPGs.
that's the thing about games like Zelda and this though. Like, these are a phenomenal time when you play them. But I don't think I'm going to go back to 100% this game or even just do another playthrough of Breath of the Wild. Well,
So,
Breath of the
like-
Wild, definitely I'm waiting at least 5 years. But for Mario, I think I would want to wait a decent amount of time before playing this again. Whereas, well, I'm like that with Galaxy too, though. So that's just more of a I need to be in the right mood kind of thing for me.
Yeah, and Mario Odyssey is far from the only game that gives me completionist trouble as far as my own tendencies of playing a game in one long marathon until I get bored with it, and then dropping it for a long stretch of time and then starting over. I said that in a way too long-winded a way, but bringing up John's mention of RPGs, like As far as completionism goes, I am totally okay. Like, even in a subpar RPG, like say Final Fantasy VIII, um, I'm okay playing it to completion, 100 level 100 for everyone, all the cards, all the major super bosses, because nothing is super duper drawn out there. When you ask me to do something like Penance in Final Fantasy X, which requires basically maxing out everyone's fucking sphere grid,
Which
which
is
takes
fun.
approximately 2 decades of grinding to accomplish.
Exactly 2 decades. I still haven't done it.
I'm not gonna bother. You know?
Yeah, you see, it's weird. Like you're, like again, like for me, Devil Survivor Overclock's one of my favorite strategy RPGs. But in order to beat the super boss in that game, you have to have everybody at level 99, and I love that game, but I'm not gonna bother. Or if I
Yeah,
need to, when you level up, like it takes like an hour to get one level by the time you're in your 60s or
Yeah.
whatever, you know.
And you know, I don't necessarily knock the game on that grounds. I just you know, I'll bring it up as a mention. Like, you might not want to bother completing this if it's going to take that long. I'll still play it. I'll still love it, or just like it in some games cases. I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy VIII. But I'm not gonna.
That's
I'm not gonna bother. You know?
see, that's-
and if there's
that's-
something if there's a big aspect of a game that makes me want to say I don't want to bother, it's hard to look at it and say this isn't a design fluke, a bad design decision. You know.
That's actually one thing I really like about Mario Odyssey, though, is that if one challenge is annoying you, 9 times out of 10 you can just go for a different moon, you know, and you don't need
There
to.
are 8,000 other moons you can
Yeah,
get.
you only
instead.
need
Yeah,
100
yeah.
and like what 40-ish in order to beat the game. So you're fine if you don't want to get any one specific one.
No, Ryan, you're
What?
a classic Mario player. You should have known that secret. The one up top. Up top.
Yeah, I'll
Go
get
up
it
top.
later.
Up top. Why didn't you go up top?
It
It's like
begins.
you should have. This is like, even I know that. Come on, I did that the first thing. I'm like, oh, I know what classic Mario is like. There's gonna be something up there, isn't there?
Nope.
Physics? What are those?
I think one of the pitfalls of this kind of 8-bit Mario in a more, 3D game is that they did amp up the physics some. So, like, the turtle shells are bouncier than you would expect them to be, and it does kind of throw you off.
In Mario 1, Mario doesn't know how to use his hands, so he can't pick them up either.
No.
Well, you can't use his hand. They're just square bricks.
Excuse me, Ryan. There's clearly a thumb in there. I mean, gosh, check your Mario.
Yeah, and
privilege.
you know the Powerpuff Girls can pick up phones with no fingers.
Homestar Runner can pick up stuff with no hands. Okay, so
Yeah.
you know.
With Mario's excuse.
And one thing that I do like about the 2D 8-bit sections, apart from them just being charmingly 8-bit, is that because they have that sort of a link between worlds factor to them of being a flat image on a 3-dimensional surface.
Also, you were thinking of the Mario 1 area going above the stages is actually right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it? Hmm.
Yeah.
And you're mentioning that now because I figured you're not gonna do that.
Probably not.
You're trying. You're gonna go for it. You're gonna go for it. You should go
Yep.
for it.
Oh,
I know it's there, but might as well get this moon here.
What I wanted to say though is that because you're a 2D image on a 3-dimensional surface, they do play around with that a little bit. Not necessarily to the extent that they do in a Link Between Worlds, but it plays into some of the level design in a
Very
fun
similar
way.
concept in a different genre.
I just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
there's a different 8-bit Mario sprite for every possible combination of hat and pants in the game.
Yes.
That is a really nice one. If they were still doing Mario Maker stuff, or if they ever port Mario Maker to the Switch, hint,
Or
hint,
Mario Maker 2.
Maker 2.
Please.
I'd like it if they included all of those sprites in Mario Maker.
You see, okay, here's the thing though. I would love a Mario Maker 2, but at the same time, I don't necessarily know if I'd want to use my fingers on the Switch's touchscene, or playing that with
maybe.
a controller
I
would be kind of gross
do like
too. That's like
I
a
do like the idea of a Mario Maker 2. It's like the only thing I'm worried about is they had better damn well do what the Little Big Planet sequels did and let you port all of the all of the levels everyone's made over.
Brilliant.
God damn.
Goddamn T-Rex.
yeah,
There
Portal-
should at the very least be a way to play those levels, I would think. I don't know if they'd let you...
That's what I mean. In Little Big Planet 2 and 3, I think, like, all of the levels that existed in Little Big Planet 1 were, you know...
In the game, yeah.
Yeah, you could access them on the servers. All of the pieces were still in the game. You could still play the levels, and they would work. So so there was the added bonus to that when Little Big Planet 2 and 3 came out, there was already this huge backlog of existing player-made content in addition to the single-player campaign. So it's like right out the gate, you've got like 60 bajillion hours of gameplay here that you probably haven't played unless you're like really obsessed with Little Big Planet 1 and played everything and anything. So it's a thing I'd like to see in a Mario Maker sequel.
Ryan, do you know how to do the triple jump?
I've been triple jumping since 1996.
On the other hand, if you're like really slow and haven't been keeping up with Mario Odyssey, you might not have known that the triple jump was still here.
Well, the game control... Well, here's the thing. The game... Mario has all of the moves from the other 3D games, but he controls a little bit differently. Like, he's
yeah.
more... Like, he can't do the breakdance kick. Oh, no. I'm so upset
I want
about
my
it.
breakdance kick.
Worst
Like
game
his
in the
weight
series.
and not that the game controls beautifully, but he's much heavier than Galaxy, and I'd say even a little bit heavier
Yeah.
than 64.
That is
yeah.
my. I would say that is my biggest complaint, ground movement wise. I feel Mario doesn't pick up enough speed fast enough.
Well, the reason he wasn't as heavy in Galaxy was because the odd camera angles made precise platforming potentially a bit of a problem.
I think they also
wanted.
wanted to emphasize the walking on the moon floaty kind of feeling of being in
Yeah, that
space.
too. That too.
Which is
but,
funny
like,
because we'll be on the moon later.
when there's potential trouble in a game's design as far as accurate platforming goes, one of the ways to mitigate it is to make the jumps a little bit floatier. Sonic Adventure, for example, feels like you actually are on the moon in spite of that not being part of the game's premise.
Speaking of Sonic Adventure, though, is one thing that Odyssey does do that I like is that he does physically react to different slopes of terrain. You know, like you go up a hill, you go slower, and you go downhill, you go.
Well,
faster.
he's always done that though. Is the thing.
I see. I'm pretty sure he does.
Sort
I don't
of.
remember it to the extent of Odyssey.
It's
though.
not.
Odyssey,
It's
really
not.
obvious.
It's not as much. He does it more in Odyssey than he does in, say, 64 or Galaxy.
Well, it's less that
There's
he does
more
it it's
hills
more
in
that
this game, though.
It's
Yeah.
more that they implemented it into the level design and into the way he generally moves in a more deliberate way. It's not just that you run faster downhill; you also jump farther when you go into the bird run. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They wanted to make the terrain complement the new roll move, so that you can be better than Sonic in every way, shape, and form. Not that that's...
I mean, Mario already does that though. It's
Yeah.
kind of redundant.
Oh, this one's annoying. It took me a while. If you use the things on the ground as a kind of guiding point, which took me way too long to figure out that you're supposed to do that, it gets a lot easier. But the later ones in this specific room are a little irritating.
You can also just dive bomb over across the second
I'll
chain
admit-
jump. And
Wait,
just
I'll
capture
admit,
that way.
wait, you can do... Oh my... But don't
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't you die when you hit the purple sludge, though?
you can get over it.
You can still get over it.
Yeah, but then...
Yeah.
But don't you have to do all these without dying, is the thing.
What do you mean?
Like, you're supposed to hit
No,
all of
the doors stay open.
They stay open if you... Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, they
I would have sacrificed 30 coins in order to get
Yeah,
this
you
one
can,
specifically
You
is
can
obnoxious.
you can die.
Oh my
First
God,
try.
Ryan!
First try. I'll admit
That took me like an hour.
I screwed this up the first time. I didn't realize that there was another one in here until I got a hint.
Yeah, it's off camera and the camera doesn't change.
Yeah, there's this little. I did the
Crevice,
same thing. I
yeah.
left here. There's this little open passage in the bottom right corner of that last room that leads to one more puzzle that you can get another moon from. And that's a kind of a slightly dickish thing this game does a lot. Hiding an extra moon in a little nook immediately after the moon at the apparent end of a mini stage section.
We had
Well,
extras
once you learn that there's always at least 2 in a mini stage, though, you
Yeah.
look for that a lot more.
Yeah, after you catch on, it kind of becomes like always going down the short side passage in Final Fantasy 13 because you know there's going to be a treasure sphere there. Only, well, it's less lame I suppose.
So this was something that you brought up at the end of the last part, Lewis, is that a lot of the worlds are not as big as you thought, which I actually think is a good thing. Like, if every world were as big as Toast Arena or New Donk City, I think that would have made the game more exhausting. But the shorter 50 purple coin stages are actually some of my favorite in the game. I love this stage.
Yeah.
I love oh god, the snow area.
Yeah, it's a little like the Galaxy games in that they had like your linear levels and then they had your open levels. Except in this one, it's more like it's mostly open levels and oh god, open levels. You know?
Yeah, but having the levels that are kind of shrunk down in scale because here's the thing: this Fossil Falls is not much bigger than your typical, I'd say, Super Mario 64 level, all things considered.
It's slightly smaller.
Slightly,
I think.
I'd say it's roughly the same in size to a couple of them. Like, I'd say...
Well, like early stage ones.
Yeah, like it's... and the 100 purple coin stages, I would say, are bigger on average than most Mario 64 stages. Or Sunshine stages, even. But, yeah. Oh. Do you have the Delicious Amiibo, Ryan?
No.
Oh.
You don't have the cereal?
Okay, so I actually got the cereal, but I never got to eat it because my brothers ate the whole thing before I even got to have any.
It's just Lucky Charms.
I got the box for the box and never looked back.
I still have the amiibo. I cut it off the box and put it on.
Man, Mario cereal. Like, I could understand Birdie Bot's every flavored beans as merchandise because you get that little juvenile fantasy of eating magical candies from a magical world. But, just putting a franchise's face on a cereal box, kind of.
I am not a fan of using Amiibo on Switch controllers, though. Gotta say,
it's harder.
Pro controller, it's awkward as hell. Like, I don't get the sweet spot.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Like,
because I think on the Joy-Cons, it's the analog stick, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like on the 3DS and the Wii U, there was a really obvious and easy to use spot on the system for it. It's kind of like with the Switch, they really didn't care about the amiibos, but they realized, if we don't include this, people are going to be angry because they bought all these amiibos, so we better squeeze it in somewhere. And
to
they
use
just kind of did that.
Simply take your Mario figure and have it dry hump your program.
That looks garish.
There's slightly different shades of red, and it's weird. Yeah.
No. I mean, like, it looks. Orange and red is not a color combination that works.
It is, however, a color combination, though.
Yeah, but so is puke green and neon magenta.
How'd you know my favorite combination?
Yeah, so one thing I do, however, if you have the amiibo, scan them in because grinding the coins to buy them, those costumes, post-game, takes like an hour. No, like an hour of coin grinding. So just save yourself the time and do it.
Yeah, even the best spots to farm coins takes forever, and I got tired of it.
Yeah, but that's, I think, with the Luigi mode, again, if you're not picking ones that are hidden out of bounds, that's supposed to be how you're supposed to get coins quickly now. So, I guess it would be more fun to coin grind that way. But then again, like half them, it feels like half of them are out of bounds. It's ridiculous.
Man, you remember when everyone was talking about how useless coins were in the Mario games? Now they're like, coins are love, coins
the best
are life.
Thing. Money.
They are everything.